Ryland Cale gripped the controls of his small transport ship, the Starfire, as it sliced through the endless black of space. Stars streaked past the cockpit windows, tiny diamonds scattered on velvet. He had flown hundreds of missions across the sector, delivering supplies between distant colonies. But today something felt wrong. The usual hum of the ship seemed heavier, almost ominous. Suddenly alarms blared, red lights flashing across the dashboard. Pirates? Ryland muttered under his breath. He had heard rumors of raider activity in this region, but he never expected to encounter them himself. A wave of green fire shot past the Starfire, striking its hull. The ship shuddered violently, and Ryland slammed his hand on the control panel. "Brace for impact," he shouted to himself. He twisted the steering column, trying to dodge the incoming blasts, but the raiders were fast, too fast. The next few seconds passed like an eternity. The Starfire groaned and twisted, metal screeching as it was ripped apart. Ryland felt a sudden jolt, and then everything went black. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on a hard, uneven surface. The smell of ozone and scorched metal filled his nose. He struggled to his feet, shaking his head, and looked around. His ship was wrecked, smoking, half buried in the sand of a strange planet. The sky above was a deep violet, streaked with two suns hanging low on the horizon. Strange mountains jutted out in the distance, jagged and shimmering as if covered in crystals. The air was breathable but carried a faint sweetness like flowers mixed with ozone. Ryland's communicator crackled weakly. "Starfire, come in." "Anyone there?" Only static replied. Great. He was completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. He sighed and began searching the wreckage for supplies. His survival training kicked in. First aid kit, water rations, power cells, any tools he could salvage. As he dug through a crumpled compartment, he heard a faint, high-pitched noise, a sound almost like a child crying. Ryland froze. "Hello?" he called softly, trying not to scare whoever it was. The sound came again, closer this time, mixed with tiny footsteps. He followed the noise through a narrow canyon, the violet light of the twin suns casting long shadows on the sparkling rocks. And then he saw her, a small figure, barely taller than a human child lying on the ground. Her skin was pale with faint, glowing blue lines that pulsed softly like living light. Her eyes were large and violet, filled with fear. Ryland crouched down slowly, keeping his hands visible. "Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you," he said gently. The child flinched but did not run. She looked weak, her breathing shallow. Ryland quickly assessed her condition. She had multiple bruises and a cut on her forehead. Whatever had brought her here had been violent. Without thinking, Ryland lifted her into his arms. "Don't worry. I'll take care of you," he said. The warmth of her small body pressed against his chest, and for the first time, he felt a fierce protectiveness rising inside him. He carried her back toward the wreckage, hoping to find some shelter. The terrain was rough and the glowing plants scratched at his clothes, but nothing could deter him. He set her down near a fallen piece of his ship that provided a small amount of cover. "Can you walk?" he asked. She shook her head faintly. "All right. Then we stay here until you're stronger." Ryland tore strips from his own jacket and bandaged the child's wounds as best he could. Her glowing lines pulsed faster as he worked, almost like she was reacting to his touch. He felt a strange connection forming, an instinctive bond that told him she trusted him already. Just as he was finishing, a sharp noise cut through the air. Ryland's head snapped up. Shadows moved across the canyon walls. Raiders, no doubt. They were scouting for survivors, and it seemed they had found him. "Stay down," he whispered to the child. The raiders' voices echoed, cruel and harsh, as they moved closer. Ryland realized there was only one way to protect her. He had to face them directly. He grabbed a piece of metal piping from the wreckage, holding it like a weapon. The raiders came into view, tall, armored figures with glinting blasters. One of them barked orders in a harsh alien language. Ryland didn't understand the words, but the intent was clear. They wanted to kill him, to take everything, including the child. Ryland's heart pounded. He wasn't a soldier, but he wasn't going to let these creatures harm her. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "You'll have to go through me," he shouted, his voice echoing off the canyon walls. The raiders laughed, a sound that made his blood run cold. They raised their weapons, firing warning shots. Ryland dodged, rolling behind the jagged rocks, but one shot grazed his arm, tearing through his sleeve. Pain flared, but he ignored it. He reached the child and gently pulled her closer, shielding her body with his own. The raiders fired again, but Rylan moved instinctively, throwing himself between the blasts and the child. Sparks flew as energy bolts struck the metal near him. He could feel the heat singe his clothes. Something inside him shifted then, a surge of adrenaline and determination. He lunged forward at the nearest raider, using the metal pipe to strike. The raider stumbled, giving him just enough time to throw the child behind a large rock. Rylan's mind raced. He had to buy time, but he had no advanced weapons. He improvised, using pieces of wreckage to create traps and distractions. Each move required precision, timing, and courage. Each step was a test of human ingenuity against technologically superior foes. The raiders were persistent, but so was Rylan. He dodged, blocked, and countered with everything he had. Slowly, the raiders began to retreat, clearly frustrated by his unexpected resourcefulness. Rylan pressed his advantage, forcing them back toward the canyon exit. Finally, after what felt like hours, the raiders vanished into the distance, leaving Rylan exhausted, but victorious. He collapsed to his knees, breathing heavily. The child rushed to him, placing small hands on his chest. Her glowing lines pulsed brightly and a soft hum filled the air. Rylan smiled weakly, feeling a warmth he hadn't known in years. "You're safe now," he whispered. "I've got you." The child looked up at him with wide eyes, then reached out to touch his face. Rylan felt a strange, almost electric connection as her small fingers made contact. It was as if she could sense every beat of his heart, every thought in his mind. Rylan didn't understand it, but he didn't need to. He knew one thing clearly. He would protect her no matter the cost. His body would shield her from any danger, and his courage would not falter. As the violet suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the alien landscape, Rylan sat with the child in his arms. The wind whispered through the canyon, carrying the scent of strange flowers and metal. For the first time in his life, he felt that survival wasn't just about himself anymore. It was about her, and perhaps in protecting her, he would discover a new purpose, one that stretched far beyond the stars he had once traveled alone. The night fell, but the child's soft hum of glowing light filled the darkness. Rylan knew this was only the beginning. Whatever dangers lay ahead, whatever mysteries this planet held, he would face them. Together. Because some bonds, human or alien, could not be broken. The twin suns had barely risen over the violet mountains when Rylan Cale heard the sound of engines unlike anything he had ever encountered. The air vibrated with a deep hum, soft at first, then growing louder as a massive ship descended from the sky. Its surface shimmered with a pearlescent glow, reflecting the light of the suns like liquid metal. Rylan's first instinct was to grab his salvaged weapons, but he stopped when he saw the figure that emerged from the ship. She moved with grace, every step measured and deliberate, her presence commanding yet calm. Her long silver-blue hair floated slightly as if alive, and her eyes glimmered like twin stars. The lines of bioluminescence along her arms and neck pulsed gently, revealing her authority and power. This was no ordinary Valari. This was Queen Seraphine herself, ruler of the planet Eloria. Rylan stood slowly, his mind racing. He had protected the child, but now he faced the highest authority of this alien world. Leora, the small child he had sworn to protect, stirred in her sleep, sensing the arrival. Rylan placed a hand gently on her glowing shoulder. "Stay close," he whispered. The Queen's gaze swept the area, sharp yet curious. She did not speak at first, letting the silence stretch, letting Rylan feel the weight of her presence. Then, in a voice both soft and firm, she said, "You are the human who protected my heir." Rylan swallowed hard. Yes, I didn't have a choice. She needed protection. Queen Seraphine studied him for a long moment, as though she could see not only his actions but the intentions behind them. Most humans would have fled. Most would have left her to her fate. You did not. Rylan's chest swelled with a mixture of pride and fear. I believe in protecting those who cannot protect themselves," he said simply. The Queen nodded slightly. "Courage is a rare quality in many species, human. It is what makes your kind." Remarkable, Rylan blinked. He had heard stories of human ingenuity and bravery, but to hear it from an alien queen was humbling. Yet he could not let himself be distracted. Leora stirred again, her violet eyes opening to meet his. Her lines glowed brighter, responding to the Queen's aura. "Is she safe?" the Queen asked, kneeling gracefully beside the child. She's alive, but still weak, Rylan replied. She needs rest and care. Queen Seraphine reached out, letting her fingers hover above Leora. A faint glow spread from her hands, soothing the child. Leora's breathing evened and her small body relaxed. Rylan felt a wave of admiration. This queen's power was immense, but her compassion was just as strong. You have done well, she said, rising to her full height. But your trials are not over. You have protected her from immediate danger, but Eloria is not a simple place. Forces beyond these raiders threaten her life and the future of my people. Rylan nodded, bracing himself. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes to keep her safe. The Queen's eyes softened, a rare expression for someone so regal. Perhaps that is why I am drawn to you. Not only for your bravery, but for the heart that beats within you. Humans sometimes surprise us. Before Rylan could respond, one of her attendants approached, bowing low. Your Majesty, the Council awaits your presence. They wish to discuss the implications of the raider attacks and the safety of the air. Queen Seraphine's gaze returned to Rylan. You will come with me, human, not as a subject, but as one who has proven himself worthy. Rylan felt a mixture of honor and anxiety. He had survived pirates, protected a child, and now he was being invited to the court of an alien queen. The journey to the capital was unlike anything Rylan had imagined. The Queen's ship moved silently over Eloria's surface, the glowing cities beneath them reflecting in the hull like pools of liquid light. Entire districts were alive with movement, yet the atmosphere felt calm, organized, and harmonious. As they entered the capital, Rylan noticed the architecture was a perfect blend of nature and technology. Buildings spiraled like giant shells. Trees grew through them, their roots intertwining with glowing metal beams. The streets were filled with Velari citizens, humanoid yet distinctly alien, moving with elegance and purpose. They arrived at the royal palace, a towering structure of crystalline towers and flowing energy patterns. Guards bowed as they entered. Queen Seraphine led Rylan to a chamber where the council awaited. Velari nobles and advisors, all watching him with guarded curiosity. People of the council, the Queen announced. This human has proven his courage and loyalty. He protected the heir, Leora, when she could not defend herself. He now stands before you not as a threat, but as a potential ally. Murmurs rippled through the council. Some faces expressed disbelief, others skepticism, and a few admiration. Rylan held his ground, keeping his gaze steady. He knew that every movement, every expression would be scrutinized. A council member, an older Velari with golden lines pulsing along his forehead, spoke. Your Majesty, can we trust a human? They are unpredictable, often reckless. He may have saved the child, but is his loyalty to our people or simply to his own pride? Queen Seraphine's eyes narrowed. And yet he acted when others would not. He did not flee, he did not bargain, he did not hesitate. That is the measure of loyalty. Do not underestimate courage, Counselor. Rylan stepped forward. I am not here to take sides or seek glory. I am here to protect her. That is all I ask. The room fell silent. Even the counselor seemed struck by his honesty. Queen Seraphine smiled faintly. He is human. His kind may be different, but in their differences lies strength. Strength that can be an asset to Eloria. The council murmured again, this time with more curiosity than skepticism. The Queen turned her attention back to Rylan. You will remain here close to the child until she recovers fully. You will learn our ways, understand our culture, and earn the trust of my people. Only then can you truly be part of our world. Rylan nodded, understanding the weight of the task ahead. I will do my best, Your Majesty. Queen Seraphine's gaze softened once more. I believe you will. You're not like other humans. You are special. Rylan could feel a strange mixture of pride and unease. Special? He had only done what anyone with a sense of duty would do, yet he realized that survival, courage, and compassion could take on new meaning here, on a world where life, culture, and power were intertwined in ways he had never imagined. After the council meeting, Queen Seraphine escorted Rylan to a secure chamber where Leora rested. The child's glowing lines pulsed gently as the Queen approached her. She looked at Rylan with a soft smile. You have done well, human. You have earned her trust, and in doing so, you have earned mine. Rylan knelt beside the child. I'll stay by her side no matter what comes, he said quietly. Queen Seraphine's eyes glimmered with approval. Good. Because the trials ahead will test you more than any raider attack ever could. Loyalty, courage, and the heart you have shown will be your guide. And perhaps they will teach you more about yourself than you ever knew. Rylan felt the weight of her words. He had survived pirates, he had protected the child, and now he was being invited into a world that was utterly alien. But one thought rang clear in his mind. He would face whatever came next. He had a purpose now, and that purpose was bigger than survival. It was about trust, courage, and the life of a child who depended on him. The sun rose fully over Aeloria, bathing the crystalline palace in light. Rylan sat beside Leora, feeling her small hand in his. Outside, the world moved with elegance and purpose, a reminder that survival and courage were not only personal traits. They were what shaped civilizations. And Rylan Kale, human from a distant star, was now a part of something far greater than himself. Rylan Kale stood in the courtyard of the Valari Palace, the violet light of the twin suns casting long shadows on the crystalline ground. Today was the day of his first trial. Queen Seraphine had promised that to truly earn the trust of her people and protect Leora, he would have to undergo tests designed to measure more than strength. They would measure his heart, intelligence, and character. He glanced at the Valari instructor waiting for him, a tall figure with golden bioluminescent lines spiraling along their arms. "I am Kale," the instructor said, their voice calm but commanding. "The first trial is one of courage. You will face challenges not with weapons but with your mind and spirit. Step forward when ready." Rylan nodded. He felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had fought pirates, braved wreckage, and protected a child from danger, but this was different. This trial was not about survival in the wild. It was about proving that humans could stand beside the Valari in wisdom, compassion, and determination. The trial began with a maze-like structure made of crystal walls that shimmered with an inner light. As Rylan stepped forward, the walls shifted behind him, closing the path and forcing him to think quickly. Holographic images appeared in the corridors, visions of disaster, fear, and temptation, each designed to test his decision-making. Rylan took a deep breath. He could feel his heart pounding, but he forced himself to focus. Each illusion challenged him differently. One showed Leora in danger if he took a wrong turn. Another tempted him with wealth or power if he abandoned his duty. But Rylan ignored the distractions. His mind returned always to the child he had sworn to protect. Hours seemed to pass as he navigated the maze. At every turn, he relied on human ingenuity, improvising, observing, and solving problems the Valari had never seen solved before. Finally, he reached the center of the maze, where a glowing crystal floated above a pedestal. He touched it, and a warm light enveloped him. The illusion dissolved. He had passed the first test. The Valari instructor nodded. Courage alone is not enough. Next, you must show empathy and understanding. Rylan was led to a garden unlike any he had seen before. Trees with translucent leaves shimmered in the sunlight, and pools of water reflected not only the sky but the emotions of those nearby. Here, Rylan was presented with a series of situations. Each scenario involved Valari citizens facing personal struggles, conflict, fear, or confusion. Rylan had to find solutions that did not rely on violence but on understanding and cooperation. In one scenario, two Valari argued over territory. Rylan suggested a compromise, using both areas efficiently while respecting each party's needs. The Valari involved looked surprised, then nodded. "You see beyond your own perspective," the instructor said. "This is rare among humans." In another scenario, he encountered a wounded alien creature unlike Leora. It whimpered and recoiled, afraid of humans. Rylan knelt beside it, speaking softly, and used a piece of cloth to carefully bandage its wing. Slowly, the creature's fear subsided, and it nuzzled him in gratitude. "You understand that strength is not always measured by force," the instructor said. "You are learning quickly, human." As the day continued, Rylan was pushed to his limits. He faced challenges that required patience, creativity, and quick thinking. Each test built upon the last, revealing not just his abilities but his values. The Valari Council had watched from afar, intrigued by how a human could navigate their trials. Meanwhile, Leora watched from her chamber, her violet eyes filled with admiration. She could sense the bond growing stronger between herself and Rylan, and she felt a surge of confidence. If he could face the Queen's trials, then perhaps they could face any threat together. After the day's trials, Rylan was exhausted but determined. Queen Seraphine appeared at the edge of the courtyard, her expression unreadable. "You have done well today," she said, "but the final trial is not yet complete. Courage and empathy are vital, but now you must demonstrate your ability to act under pressure, for the sake of others, and for the survival of my people." Rylan nodded. He had expected this. "I am ready," he said. The Queen gestured toward the horizon where dark clouds swirled unnaturally. "A raider ship approaches," she said. "It is testing our defenses. You will coordinate with Valari warriors to protect the city and the child. Remember what you have learned." Rylan's heart sank slightly. He had fought raiders before, but now it was on a scale far larger than the small group he had defeated earlier. He took a deep breath. "I'll do it," he said firmly. He ran through the palace halls, rallying the Valari warriors. At first, many were skeptical. How could a human possibly lead them? But Rylan spoke calmly, clearly, and with conviction. He suggested strategies combining human improvisation with Valari abilities. The warriors began to follow, impressed by his insight and determination. The raider ship descended, firing energy bolts at the crystalline walls of the city. Rylan moved quickly, placing Valari soldiers at strategic positions, using mirrors and reflective surfaces to redirect energy blasts, and guiding civilians to safety. His strategies were unorthodox, but they worked. During the battle, he saw Leora standing near the palace gates, her eyes wide with fear. Without hesitation, Rylan dashed toward her, throwing himself between her and an incoming blast. Sparks flew as energy struck his chest, but he absorbed the impact, protecting the child once more. Leora's lines glowed brightly, a sign of her emerging powers reacting to his bravery. "Rylan," she called, her voice trembling but strong. "I've got you," he shouted, holding her close. Together they moved toward safety. The raiders were clever and relentless, but Rylan's leadership and human ingenuity turned the tide. They coordinated attacks with Valari warriors, using traps, decoys, and unexpected maneuvers to force the enemy into retreat. By the time the raider ship fled into the sky, the city stood largely unharmed. Queen Seraphine appeared amid the aftermath, her expression unreadable. Slowly she walked toward Rylan. "You have proven something few of my people could. Not only courage, but leadership, compassion, and wisdom under pressure. You are remarkable, human." Rylan's chest heaved with exhaustion, but he managed a tired smile. "I did what I had to do. I couldn't let her be harmed. That's all." The Queen's eyes softened. "That is why you are worthy. You have earned not only my trust, but the trust of my people. You have shown that humans, though different, can stand alongside us as equals in courage and spirit." Rylan felt a warmth in his chest, a mixture of pride and humility. He had never thought of himself as extraordinary. He had merely acted out of instinct, out of a desire to protect a life that mattered. And yet, that instinct had been enough to impress an entire civilization. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold, Rylan sat beside Leora in the palace courtyard. She reached out, her small hand glowing softly in his. "You were amazing today," she whispered. "I knew you could do it." Rylan smiled gently, brushing her glowing hair from her face. "We did it together. You helped me, too." The Queen watched from a distance, her eyes thoughtful. Perhaps this human was more than a protector. Perhaps he could become a bridge between their worlds, a symbol of trust and courage. Rylan leaned back, feeling the weight of the day, but also a sense of purpose he had never felt before. The trials had tested him, pushed him to his limits, and revealed strengths he had not known he possessed. More than that, they had shown him the value of loyalty, empathy, and human ingenuity, the qualities that made him, and his species, special. And as he held Leora close, he realized that his journey was far from over. There would be more challenges, more threats, and more tests. But now he had a reason to face them, not just for survival, but for the future of a child, a people, and perhaps even an entire world. Because some bonds, human and alien, were stronger than any obstacle. The morning on Aloria was calm, almost serene, but Rylan Kale knew better. He had faced raiders before, but this time the danger was different. Intelligence reports from the Valari scouts indicated a massive raider fleet approaching the capital, far larger than any small raiding party he had encountered in the past. Rylan stood on the palace balcony, looking over the crystalline city that shimmered under the twin suns. The streets were filled with Valari citizens preparing for possible evacuation, and soldiers moved strategically, readying defensive positions. The hum of energy shields and the soft glow of defensive structures filled the air with tension. Queen Seraphine approached him silently, her presence calm yet commanding. "Rylan," she said, "today you will see the test of your leadership. You must coordinate with our forces to protect the city and the child. The lives of many depend on your judgment and courage." Rylan nodded, his jaw set. "I understand, Your Majesty." "I won't let them harm anyone." The raider fleet appeared on the horizon, black shapes against the violet sky. Energy weapons glinted in the sunlight, and the massive ships moved with deadly precision. Rylan quickly gathered the commanders of the Volari forces. "Listen carefully," he said, pointing to a holographic map of the city. "We need to combine human tactics with your abilities. I'll handle strategy and coordination, and you execute. Keep civilians safe and focus on protecting key points: the palace, the energy grid, and evacuation routes." "Got it?" The commanders exchanged uncertain looks but nodded. Rylan could feel their hesitation. They were not used to a human leading them, but he had confidence in his instincts. As the first raider ships fired upon the outer defenses, Rylan directed the Volari warriors to use reflective energy shields to redirect some of the blasts. He instructed smaller groups to set traps, using the city's crystalline architecture to confuse and slow the attackers. The battle erupted quickly. Energy bolts streaked across the sky, hitting towers and streets, and the sound of explosions echoed through the city. Citizens ran for shelter as soldiers took up defensive positions. Rylan moved among them, giving instructions, checking on wounded civilians and improvising solutions as the chaos unfolded. Suddenly, a massive raider ship broke through the outer defenses, targeting the palace directly. Rylan didn't hesitate. "Move the civilians to the lower levels and activate the inner shields," he shouted. He grabbed a communications device and coordinated with both Volari forces and human-inspired defense mechanisms, guiding them with precision. As the battle raged, Rylan saw Leora near the palace gates. Her small hands glowed, her lines pulsing brightly as she instinctively prepared to defend herself. Without thinking, he dashed toward her, positioning himself between her and an incoming energy blast. The force hit him squarely in the chest, knocking him back but leaving him determined. "Rylan!" Leora called, fear in her voice. "I've got you," he shouted, rising and shielding her with his body once more. The child's energy seemed to respond to his courage, forming a protective glow around them both. Rylan quickly assessed the situation. The raiders were strong, but they were predictable in their formation. Using a combination of Volari abilities and human tactics, he devised a counterattack. He instructed the Volari archers to fire energy nets, immobilizing smaller ships, while others used telekinetic powers to redirect debris as obstacles. He spotted a gap in the raider formation and called a small strike team. "We go now. Hit the central ship's engines and force them to retreat." The team followed his orders, trusting his judgment despite their doubts earlier. The strike succeeded. One of the largest ships faltered, its energy core destabilizing. The raider fleet hesitated, confusion spreading among them. Rylan seized the moment. "Push forward! Protect the palace. Protect the people." His voice carried over the battlefield, and the Volari soldiers rallied behind him. The combination of human strategy and Volari strength created a synergy the raiders hadn't anticipated. Slowly, the tide of battle shifted. Amid the chaos, Rylan noticed a raider attempting to breach the palace walls to capture Leora. Without hesitation, he charged, intercepting the attacker. The two clashed, energy weapons sparking against makeshift defenses. Rylan ducked and rolled, using his agility to his advantage. Finally, he disarmed the raider and sent them fleeing back into the battle. Leora ran to him, her glow dimming slightly as she breathed heavily. "You saved me again," she whispered. "Always," Rylan replied, brushing dust from his jacket. "We protect each other." Queen Seraphine appeared on a balcony above, observing the battle with keen eyes. Slowly, she descended to the courtyard, her presence inspiring those around her. "Rylan Kale," she said, her voice firm yet full of respect. "You have done more than I expected. Your courage and leadership have turned the tide. Today, humans and Volari stand as one." Rylan's chest heaved with exhaustion, but he straightened, proud yet humble. "I only did what was necessary. We all did our part." The raider fleet, seeing their strongest ship crippled and their formations broken, began a slow retreat. Bolts fired in a final barrage, but Rylan and the Volari forces held their ground. Within hours, the skies cleared, leaving the city largely intact with citizens cheering for their defenders. The Queen approached Rylan, her eyes glimmering with admiration. "You have exceeded all expectations, human. Not only did you protect the air, but you have shown leadership and wisdom that many of my people lack. You are more than a protector, you are a symbol of hope." Rylan felt a mix of relief and pride. He had never imagined that a human could earn such recognition from an alien civilization, yet he realized it wasn't just about survival or skill. It was about courage, ingenuity, and compassion. He knelt beside Leora, who clung to him tightly. "We did it," he said softly. Leora smiled, her glowing lines dimming to a gentle pulse. "You taught me courage too," she said. Rylan looked around at the city, the people and the Queen standing nearby. He understood now that his journey was more than protecting a child. It was about proving that humans, despite their differences, could stand beside any species and make a difference. Queen Seraphine placed a hand on his shoulder. "Rylan, you have earned your place here, not just as a protector of Leora, but as a trusted ally of Aloria. Your actions today will be remembered for generations." Rylan nodded, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. The battle was over, but the lessons remained. Courage, compassion, and human ingenuity could change the course of events, even in a world as alien as Aloria. As the twin suns set, painting the city in hues of violet and gold, Rylan sat with Leora at the palace balcony. Citizens below cheered, celebrating their victory, and the Valari soldiers stood at attention, acknowledging their human ally. "You were amazing today," Leora whispered. Rylan smiled, brushing her glowing hair from her face. "We were amazing together." Queen Seraphine watched from a distance, her expression thoughtful. Perhaps this human was more than a protector. Perhaps he was a bridge between their worlds, a symbol of courage and hope. And as Rylan gazed at the horizon, he knew that while today had been a victory, the future held even greater challenges. But now he was ready, because he had proven that humans could not only survive, they could inspire, lead, and protect. And that was a power even the most advanced civilizations could respect. The city of Aloria glimmered under the twin suns as the dust from the recent battle settled. The citizens moved through the streets cautiously, but with a renewed sense of hope. Rylan Kale stood atop a crystalline balcony, looking over the city he had helped save. Beside him, Leora held his hand, her glowing lines pulsing softly in rhythm with his heartbeat. Queen Seraphine approached quietly. Her presence carried the same calm authority as always, but there was a warmth in her eyes that had not been there before. "Rylan," she said, her voice steady, "today the people of Aloria see what I have known for some time. Humans are capable of courage, loyalty, and wisdom that even my own people must respect." Rylan nodded, still feeling the weight of exhaustion from the battle. "I did what I had to do. I didn't do it for recognition, Your Majesty. I did it because it was right." The Queen's lips curved into a small smile. "That is precisely why your actions carry such meaning. You acted not for glory but for protection, and that is a rare quality." She paused, looking down at the bustling city. "And so I formally acknowledge you as a trusted member of my court, Rylan Kyle. You are no longer merely a visitor or a protector. You are a part of Aloria." Rylan felt a mixture of honor and disbelief. "Part of Aloria?" he repeated quietly. "Yes," the Queen confirmed. "Your bravery and humanity have bridged two worlds. Your presence here strengthens the bond between Valari and humans. You will remain close to Leora, not just as her protector, but as her mentor, guide, and advisor." Leora squeezed Rylan's hand tightly, her eyes shining. "Does this mean we stay together?" Rylan smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "Yes, Leora. Together we face whatever comes next." The Queen gestured toward the city. "The people will come to know you not only as a hero, but as a symbol of unity. Your courage has inspired them, and it will inspire generations to come." Soon, citizens began to gather in the streets below the palace. Word of Rylan's deeds had spread quickly, and the Valari came to offer their gratitude. Children waved small flags, elders nodded respectfully, and even the soldiers who had fought alongside him approached to express their thanks. Rylan stepped forward and raised a hand. "I didn't fight for thanks," he said loudly, his voice carrying across the plaza. "I fought because I believe in protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That's what humans do." And today I saw what you all can do when we work together. Together, we are stronger." The crowd erupted in cheers, the sound echoing through the crystalline towers. Rylan felt a deep sense of fulfillment, not from praise, but from knowing that his actions had made a real difference. After the ceremony, Queen Seraphine invited Rylan to her private chamber. The room was filled with soft light, flowing water channels, and a peaceful energy that made the hardships of the past days seem distant. She motioned for him to sit. "Rylan," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "You have proven that humans are not merely survivors. They are protectors, leaders, and allies. Your presence has changed the perception of your people forever." Rylan leaned back, considering her words. "I never expected any of this. I just did what I felt was right." "That is what makes you extraordinary," the Queen replied. "Many of my people rely on rules, tradition, and order. You rely on courage, instinct, and compassion. That combination, it is rare and powerful." She paused, her gaze softening. "You have also formed a bond with Leora that goes beyond duty. It is not just protection. It is trust, friendship, and guidance. That bond will shape her future, and perhaps the future of Aloria itself." Rylan looked toward Leora, who was quietly observing them from a corner. Her small hands were clasped together, and her lines glowed brighter as if in anticipation. He felt a surge of responsibility but also pride. He had not only protected her but had also helped her find her courage. "You've given her confidence," he said softly, "and in doing so, I feel I've learned something too." Queen Seraphine nodded knowingly. "Indeed, you have learned the power of empathy, leadership, and courage under pressure. But perhaps most importantly, you have learned that even one human can inspire hope and change in ways that no force of technology or magic alone could achieve." As the evening descended, Rylan, Leora, and the Queen stood together on the balcony, overlooking the city. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting shades of violet, gold, and soft blue across the crystalline towers. The city had survived, and the future seemed brighter. Rylan turned to Leora. "We have a lot to do," he said. "Training, learning about your people, making sure no one threatens you again." Leora's eyes sparkled. "I'm ready. With you here, I know we can face anything." The Queen placed a hand on Rylan's shoulder. "You are part of something larger now. Not just protecting one life, but shaping the destiny of two worlds. That is a heavy burden, but one you are capable of carrying." Rylan felt the weight of her words, but it was not frightening. It was a challenge he accepted willingly. He realized that protecting Leora had given him purpose, and that purpose extended beyond just one child. It extended to an entire civilization. Days turned into weeks as Rylan trained with the Valari. He learned their language, culture, and advanced techniques while sharing human strategies, problem-solving skills, and unique ways of thinking. Leora grew stronger and more confident, her powers now controlled and purposeful. Guided by Rylan's steady presence, the citizens came to admire him, not just as a foreign protector, but as a symbol of what humans could achieve when driven by courage and compassion. Even the counselors who had once doubted him now sought his advice, recognizing the value of his insight and the strength of his character. One evening, as Rylan walked through the palace gardens with Leora, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here. From a lone transport pilot lost in space to a protector, mentor, and trusted ally, his life had changed completely. He had faced raiders, survived trials, led armies, and now stood recognized by an alien queen and her people. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Leora asked, her voice soft. Rylan thought for a moment. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but everything I've done here, it matters more. I've found a purpose I never had before, and I'm not alone anymore." Leora smiled, her glowing lines pulsing gently. "I'm glad you're here. I can't imagine this world without you." Rylan felt a warmth in his chest. It was not pride or accomplishment alone. It was the bond they shared, a connection that transcended species, distance, and danger. He realized that this bond, built on trust, courage, and shared experience, was stronger than anything he had faced in space. Queen Seraphine approached quietly, her gaze on both of them. "Rylan, your journey has only just begun. There will be challenges ahead, new threats and new responsibilities, but I have no doubt that you will face them with the same courage and wisdom you have shown from the start." Rylan bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will do my best." The Queen's lips curved into a faint smile. "That is all I could ever ask." And know this, Eloria is now your home as much as it is mine. You are not only a protector of a child, Rylan Kale. You are a protector of a people, and a bridge between worlds. As the stars began to appear in the violet night sky, Rylan stood between Leora and the Queen, feeling a sense of fulfillment deeper than he had ever known. His body had shielded her, his courage had led armies, and his heart had earned the respect of an entire civilization. The twin suns had set, but a new light had risen, the light of human courage, compassion, and determination shining brightly on Eloria, and Rylan Kale, once a lone pilot lost in space, now stood as a symbol of hope, unity, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. For in the vastness of the universe, sometimes all it takes is one human to change everything.